If you do your sweaters in natural fibers, they turn into looking like professional sweaters if you use what I call the almighty steam iron. Natural fibers love steam. Man-made fibers will die on steam. Some of them will hold up, but for the most part, don't take a chance. There's a reason why it will melt if you use poly anything. So what I do is I use natural fibers for the most part, and when I'm done with the sweater, I put it together. You know, everybody else blocks them all over the floor, and they've got pieces blocked here and pieces blocked there, which is wonderful if you're knitting for yourself. But if you have to turn out 25 sweaters in a couple of months, then you put them together, you lay them out, you steam them, you fold them up, you put them in an envelope, you ship them out. It's very, very forgiving. Say you're knitting and one night you come home and you've been teaching all day and you can't stand the kids and you're knitting away and suddenly you discover you have 3 rows that are so tight that you're thinking, I've got to rip this out. Don't rip it out. The next night you're peaceful and relaxed and your knitting is twice as large. Well, steam is a wonderful forgiver because what you can do is you can get those knitting wires that they use for blocking. You've seen them, they're long metal skinny wires with T-pins. And you lay it out on something you can pin into, either your carpet or a blocking board, and you pin it to the right size, and then you take steam and you start to move it over your garment, and all of your tight rows go loose, and all of your loose rows start to tighten up. You can watch it. It's sort of like watching a wave move across the sweater. You know, the mountains are brought low and the hill and the valleys rise, and it tends to make all your, people say, oh, your stitches are so even. I cheat. I steam all my sweaters when they're done, so all the irregularities are hidden because they're very forgiving. They just even right up. Granted, I tend to knit rather evenly out of sheer numbers, volume, but anybody can make a very professional looking sweater. Let's see, what else? I've talked about the patterns, I've talked about the books. Essentially, you can take any of these patterns and make them into garments, Christmas ornaments, anything you want. You have control. And that's the beauty of my design, because they are adaptable. All you need is the chart. I've had people call me up and say, I don't wear sweaters, but I want a sheet suit. So I tell them, fine, buy the patterns. There's your chart. Put it on whatever you want. She said, oh, I have a favorite sweater, and it's done in Irish knit, and it's done on tiny little needles and whatnot. I said, fine, leave a pattern area in the middle that is plain knit. Do all your, twists and turns and cables and bobbles and popcorns and whatever you want. When you get to that spot, work your sheet suit. So you can have both texture, because there are some people who will come to me and say, oh, I only knit texture. Well, fine. I've done enough Irish sweaters to know I've knit texture. It's great. But it's not what I do as my thing. I knit color. I paint portraits of dogs. I just happen to paint them in yarn. And so you can use these charts on anything you want. If you have a favorite sweater that you knit all the time, if you want to knit for your grandson something, take it, put the design on. You don't have to use my sweater patterns. I give them to you to give you something on which to work the design. But it's the design that is Kanine Knits. Kanine Knits is the chart. And what you do with the chart, I freely give you permission to do whatever you want. Now, I love these pillows because a lot of people don't wear sweaters. But you can buy a pillow for them. And you can just knit your design up here, knit it back. Suddenly, there it is. Easy Christmas present. Easy, easy. And especially for these guys who would never be caught dead wearing a sweater with a dog on it. But they would love to crash and watch the football game with their Roddy's head under their head and the Roddy lying on their lap. So, are there any questions? Let me just remind you that if you don't see, I brought the patterns with me and I brought books with me. If you don't see it here tonight, because I don't have all my patterns, you can just go to the website, www.kanineknits.com. There is a shopping cart on the website. One section is for books, the other is for patterns. If you go to the pattern section, it'll give you a choice to either order it and have it mailed to you, or just click for instant gratification. If you order it to be mailed, you pay the postage. So sometimes clicking for instant gratification is much better. If you have a good, clear printer that can print out the pattern, why not? Save some money. Are there any questions? Yes?